Educator Centre as part of it. My name is Henry Penfold, and I am digital leader at Cornerstone CFE Primary School. And I am very excited to have you join us today.
Good morning, everybody. My name's Tim, and I'm joining Henry this morning to lead you through Primary Teams 365. Really pleased that so many of you have joined us this morning, hoping that it's going to be a really helpful experience for you. Just to give you a little bit of background, at Cornerstone, we're a one-form entry primary school in Hampshire, and we actually introduced Teams and OneNote to our staff back in February last year. So literally, the things that we're going to be sharing with you are things that we've only been doing for the last 12 months. We've been really pleased how well it's gone, pleased with how well the children have picked up on it. It's removed a lot of barriers, particularly at this time with remote learning. And so we're going to share lots of examples, going to share some tips. And as I said, we hope you find it really, really useful. If you are on Twitter, we would really appreciate some feedback on there as well. So above our heads, is the hashtag for today's event. It's PT365. So if you are tweeting, please do use that. And I will hand you back now to Henry.
Thank you very much indeed, Tim. So just a quick reminder. So the Microsoft Educator Centre is a wealth full of resources, and you can redeem the code, which helps us with numbers, by clicking the sign in at the top right hand corner. You can use your Office 365 account as part of that. Once you sign in, you have the option to redeem a voucher code. And if you type in this voucher code or this code, it will redeem the session and it will say code redeemed, which will be much appreciated as part of the session. We are going to be having a look at these 4 tools, and I will pass back over to Tim.
Thank you, Henry. So the plan for this morning is the first half, we're going to be looking at Teams and OneNote, and we're going to be looking at them both how you might use it with your staff, and then also how you might use it with your class. We'll then have a quick 5-minute break in the middle to allow people to get a drink, stretch their legs. And then in the second half, we're going to look at Forms and Sway, which are 2 other really powerful, really useful and quite easy to use tools within the Office 365 suite. So those are the 4 apps that we are focusing on. But with each of those, what we're going to do is I will share a quick presentation, which will hopefully just give you some of the basic information about the apps if you haven't used them before, and share some examples of how we've used them with our children and with our staff. Henry will then do a live demo. That's always the bit which needs a lot more technical expertise, which is why I've definitely let him do that bit. And then what we're going to do is give you some T2T, time to try. During the time to try, we'll suggest a couple of things you might have a little play with, try some things out, but we will also try to use that time to answer any questions. At the moment, because we've got so many people, we're keeping everybody but ourselves muted. Apologies for that. But if you would like to ask a question, please do just pop it in the chat and we will do our best to answer those as quickly as we can. Okay, so we're going to crack on then and make a start having a look at Microsoft Teams. And we're looking at it from the point of view of staff and class. So why have we moved on to Microsoft Teams? Why did we do this 12 months ago? It wasn't because we could foresee what was coming in 2020, but we did it because it allows that collaboration and communication between teachers and pupils. An example literally from yesterday, I've got a group of Year 6ers who, with me and their teacher, are leading a launch assembly about something called 40 Acts of Generosity. And they're doing that in a couple of weeks. But all of these Year 6ers are at home. The Year 6 teacher and I are not in the same room, but we're able to share the same documents, have meetings, collaborate together through Teams, which is allowing us to prepare for and then present this launch assembly. It also allows teachers to collaborate, to converse, to share with each other. Literally everything we have now is not on a system at school. It's all on the cloud, all within Teams. And this means any member of staff can access whatever they need on any device, wherever they are. So we don't have to do this, oh, I've got to sign in remotely. We don't have that, oh, I've only got a phone at home and I can't do that, because you can get the phone on your app. And our experience has been, certainly previously, when we were just using email, some of our staff perhaps didn't always check their emails very regularly. And so you might have sent them something and not hear back from them in 2 weeks. What we're finding now with Teams is that actually you get an almost instantaneous response because people are alerted to it. And again, please don't worry, you can have quiet hours, so you can shut those off for particular hours over the evening and overnight. So we're not waking people up 24/7. But the real key thing, I think, that has been sort of really transformative for us is that Teams is this one-stop hub, somewhere where everything is shared, everything is accessible, and actually you can work on documents collaboratively together. You can have those meetings at the same time as working. So it's just made the way that we work so much more flexible. Now, when people first see Teams, if you haven't seen it before, it can seem a little bit off-putting because it can seem quite busy. So what I'm going to do is just share with you that there are 3 main spaces that the screen is split into. And the first is the Me space, which you can see is this column over here on the left. What you have here is the name of the team that you are in. So we're in the Cornerstone training team. And teams can then be split into channels. So here you can see we've got a general channel, a CPD channel, organizational, and so on. This just allows the huge amount of information, huge amount of folder just to be shared out and easier to access. But the key thing in the Me space is the app bar here on the left. So at the top, you've got an activity bell. If you've been mentioned or you've been sent something or someone's replied to something that you've posted, there'll be a little number that appears there. And actually, it's really useful. It's at the top. You click on it and you check all the latest information you've been sent. Next down is the chat icon. This allows you to have sort of quick instant messaging, either with individuals or with groups. And you can make as many groups as you want and name them. But it also allows you to do audio calls and video calls. So, for example, Henry, as well as digital leader, is our year 4 teacher, which happens to be at the far end of the school. And I've become more and more lazy over the last 12 months, because now if I want to ask Henry something, I don't bother walking the whole 100 meters up the corridors. I just give him a quick audio or video call. And depending on what sort of mood he's in, he picks up or doesn't. The next icon down is the Teams icon. So it may be that you are in a range of teams. So we have a staff team, but we've got an SLT team, we've got pupil teams. And therefore, if you click on here, you can choose which team you're going to select. As I say, we're in the Cornerstone training team at the moment. The next icon down is assignments. We'll talk about that more when we talk about class teams, because that's obviously for work with your learners. And then you've got the calendar. The calendar is really useful because it brings up a page which shows you all the Teams meetings you have either that day or that week or that month, and you can change the view. It's also the place where you can go to schedule meetings. Towards the bottom, you've got apps here. So there are lots of other Microsoft apps that you can add into Teams and use directly within it, but there's also hundreds of third-party apps that you can use within Teams. So again, it's that one-stop hub of once you're in Teams, actually you don't need to go anywhere else. And we've, our staff set it up so as they log into their laptops, Teams pops up and they're there. They don't need to go anywhere else. Always really useful. There's also a help at the bottom there. So lots of training videos, lots of advice, lots of links. Really, really useful and useful for everybody. Henry and I are constantly checking in there. So that's the Me space. The next space that I would like to show you is the We space. And the We space is this row at the top. And as it would suggest, because it's the We space, it's something that is shared with other people. So this is where you start collaborating with your team. The first tab is called Posts. And because you can see there's a little blue line there, that's what's actually showing on this screen that you can see. So what you've got here is I've made an announcement here saying, welcome to Microsoft Teams and who the training's led by. But you can also see down here, if I wanted to, I could start a new conversation. So I can add a post or an announcement. The difference is a post is just text, an announcement has this big header if you want to make it really visible for your staff or your children. Next along in the WeSpace, we've got the files. This will be very, very similar, and lots of people will recognize this because it's the same sort of filing system you'd have whether you're working in the cloud or you're working off a server. So lots of folders. It's easy to create new folders, upload folders you've got elsewhere, and you can easily add in Word documents, PDFs, PowerPoints, Excel. Next along is the staff notebook. Really, really powerful and valuable, this. And what we have in our staff notebook, there are 3 types of notebook. There's the content library, there's individual notebooks, and there's the collaboration space. So the content library is one where you are sharing content for people to see, but they can't edit it. So it's literally just a read only. The individual notebooks, so each staff member will have their own notebook. Only they and the owners of the team can see it. So Henry and I are able to see everyone's notebook, but apart from that, it's only the named member of staff. So we've got staff who perhaps are using it to keep their to-do list, or maybe some performance management notes, or some notes they've been on training, or some ideas for their planning for next half term. It's somewhere that they can keep those notes in one place. The collaboration space, though, is probably the most exciting part of it, because it's a place where everyone can read and everyone can edit. And we'll share some examples of that as we go through. But for example, this week, or last week, sorry, our staff were on some maths online training. So whilst everyone was remoting in and watching the training live, they also had up a collaboration space notebook page, and they were all adding notes and asking questions, suggesting, oh, we could try this, we could try that. So it just allowed that collection of notes. It also meant that anybody who wasn't able to attend that training could go back and look at those notes afterwards. So those are the 3 main tabs that come with every Teams: posts, files, and notebook. But you can then add extra tabs. So for example, in ours, we've added the Microsoft Educator Center, so that if staff want to go and check some training there, directly from Teams, they can click on the tab and it will take them straight to it. We use CPOMs for our safeguarding system here at Cornerstone. So again, on our team, we've then got a CPOMs tab at the top. So again, staff can click on it and go directly to CPOMs. Really powerful way of helping people access things within Teams. So just as a recap, on the left, you've got the Me space with all the apps. And at the top there, you've got the We space with all these tabs that take you to different sections. Here's some examples of the We space. So on the left, you've got an example. This one's back from November. So we do a mini CPD every Monday, and we share a little video with people and say, have a watch of this at some point during the week. And essentially it works like a staff room notice board. And, you know, particularly at the moment, we're in a situation where maybe not every member of staff is in. Certainly not every member of staff can go in the staff room at the same time. So rather than writing stuff on the board, we post it here in the staff team, and people can easily see it and they can reply to it and comment on it. The middle picture, not the most exciting, just shows you a filing system, which, as I say, we've all seen before. So this one is in our teaching and learning channel, and would you believe it, we've got assessment, curriculum, data and planning. But it just means that it's easy to find those files. What's more exciting is on the right, you've got an example of a collaboration page in our staff notebook. So you can see the staff notebook is up there. You can see that my notebook's there, Henry's notebook is there, but then we're in the collaboration space. And so we've got a section here for staff development meetings, a section for insets, CPD from last year, CPD from this year. And we thought it appropriate to share with you, this is our Microsoft training section. So what we've done as a whole staff team, this is not just Henry and myself, but all of us as a team, we've created this section, and then within it, we've got all these different pages. And then on each page, and we've got here selected the Microsoft Teams page as we're talking about Teams. And as you can see, we've got some text, we've got some links to web pages, We've got a YouTube video that we've embedded in there. You can embed pictures. So lots of things that you can do within OneNote. And all of this is accessible to all our staff at any point on any device. So really, really powerful way of sharing, collaborating on information. Now, I mentioned there were 3 sections. The third section is called the Canvas, and it's the section that you can see here with the yellow box. And essentially, the Canvas shows you whatever you've selected. So because I'm in the Cornerstone training team, I'm in the general channel, and I've selected posts, that's what the Canvas is showing. If I decided perhaps to go to chat, it would then bring up my list of chats here, and whichever one I selected would show here in the Canvas. So although, as I said, when you first see it, if you haven't seen it before, it can look quite busy. If you think about those 3 sections, that helps you to navigate your way around it. And to be honest, once you've used it for a few days, it becomes very second nature. I'm now going to stop talking and hand back over to Henry.
Thank you very much indeed, Tim. So as you can see, this is Teams using the app. I noticed that we had a question regarding web and app usage. So obviously Teams can be accessed through a web or app. Through the app, you have much more functions, and the latest updates are released to the app more often than the web version. So I would recommend installing the Teams app version onto all of the staff laptops and laptops that are used by staff. So as we log into Teams, this is all of the teams that I am part of. And we're going to have a look at the Cornerstone training team. And just before we do that, I'm going to go back to Teams again. And it's really easy to create a team. So at the top right-hand corner here, you will see join or create team. So you can create a team by clicking on the create team. And there are a number of different options that it gives you, whether you create a class team, which we will go into further detail, a PLC, a professional learning group, and then a staff, and also an other. So there are a variety of different teams. And if I was to click onto one, it then gives me a name, a description. I can make it private, I can make it public, that people can join. And I can also, if I want it based around a previous team that I have or an existing team, I can use that template. So whether I was creating a class team and I wanted to base it on a similar class that I had from the year before, I can do that. So, and also there are 2 ways in which you can join a team. You can add email addresses, which I will show you how to, or you can send out a code to the staff that you would like to join the team, and they can enter the code and join the team there. So if we go into the Cornerstone training team, you will see all of the different elements that Tim spoke about. And we have our channels on the left-hand side here, which has the individual folders for the different elements. And just to share with you about joining, all we have to do is click Add Member. And then we have the option that we can type in the initials. So if I want to add Tim to our, then it will give me that option and I can click Add and add him into it. And easy, he will get an email and that email then will allow him to join the team. So we have along the top our really important links, the posts, the files, the staff notebook, and also some more. And really importantly is that a great feature that you can add pretty much within reason anything that's quick access. So for example, you saw that there was a link there to the Microsoft Educator Center. So staff can easily click onto that within Teams and access and do courses. Also, you can add other web links. Maybe it's a Word document, a key Word document. It could be related to everything that's going on in the world at the moment. It could be a COVID document and you want staff to have quick access to that. You can add it as a tab at the top here. So a variety of different things that you can do there. Within the files section, it has an option that you can obviously upload files. You can literally drag files from your computer onto Teams, or you can click upload and upload a folder or upload files. And then it gives you the options to create new files, new folders as well on top of that. So lots of different really easy features. And a question actually that we had yesterday was, did we set up the team ourselves when we did set it up? It was actually on a train on the way back from the Bet Show last year that we actually set up this team. And it was really easy because we actually had all of our resources on a server. We had all the documents that we needed. And actually by us selecting what documents needed to then go onto Teams, we actually refined and actually meant that the documents that we needed were actually going on to Teams. So actually then we had quite a lot of folders that we didn't need to go onto Teams and hence deleted in the process. So Tim mentioned about the staff notebook, a really powerful tool. It can be accessed through the Microsoft Teams, but also can be accessed through the Office 365 and OneNote app. And as you can see, you've got all of the different areas. You've got the collaboration space, a fantastic space where staff can make notes all together. And a massive bonus of OneNote is, if I was to show you, if we have here, we have the Microsoft training. And for example, if I want to actually make a note next to where this note is here, I can just double click. There we go. Double click and I can make a note. Fantastic resource, and I can click and drag it into the area that I want it. So maybe that's highlighting to people that that's a really key element that is a focus of, and it would highlight. There are lots of different options that you can do within OneNote. You can add bullet points, numbering, add pictures, add images. You can even, if you want to, which I've done quite a number of times, walking into Tim's office and he's talking to his computer, you can dictate to it and it picks up the voice and obviously records it. So lots of great options and real ease with it. So key things that you can do as well. So you can, as you can see here, Tim has done an announcement. Welcome to Microsoft Teams. So we click on New Conversation, and it gives us an option that we can either make a conversation, which possibly isn't necessarily so bold. We wouldn't necessarily see it so easily. Or we can make an announcement if something's really important that we want a COVID document and we want all of the staff to check it. Now, one thing that's really, really easy and makes it alert everyone, if you type in an @ and then you type in general, everyone will receive a notification that they need to read this message. So please read this document and give me feedback before Monday. So we have that, and I can attach my document as I can attach it here. And then people can give me feedback on it, and then we could have it, and I could post it. And if I was to post it, then all of the people, which now all the teachers that are part of this training team are going to be really annoyed with me and wonder why I'm alerting them. They will have that alert, and it will give them a chance. They can reply. You can also turn on and turn off replies. Also, if you wanted to create a meeting, the fact that we've had quite a lot of whole staff meetings related to COVID, I can click right in the top hand corner here and schedule a meeting. And it gives me the option that I can either invite certain people to the meeting, or if I share it with general, I can share it with everyone. So I'm going to share it with everyone, and I'm going to give it that it's a COVID briefing. And that it's going to be, unfortunately, on a Sunday at 2 o'clock. Boris has quite happily announced on Saturday night, as he usually does, that he wants to open schools again, and we've got to have a meeting on the Sunday. So I've done it for Sunday between 2 and 2:30. Everyone will get alerted to that. They will get an email, but they'll also get a notification on Teams regarding that. Within the staff notebook, you can create different sections as well. So each person you will see has their own notebook. And within that, then, so if I was to go under one of our teachers, I could then add a new section and I could say planning to look at. And if I add that and I drag it into, or I may keep it in this area, I can then add that section there. I may want to, if I add it to the content library, the content library is a read-only area. So that may be particular documents that I want staff to be able to see, but not to edit. So they are the key things with Teams. I would recommend accessing it from a app rather than the web version. But in particular, I think a high focus with us that it engaged all of our TAs. So sometimes they don't necessarily have access to a laptop all day. And by having Teams on their phones, it meant that they could quickly receive messages, whether it was regarding COVID briefings or certain things that we needed to alert them to. And the factor of promoting quiet hours also means that they don't necessarily get bombarded at times that they don't want to. So, for example, if Tim is bombarding me, I do have my quiet hours on a weekend, so I don't receive any notifications. But obviously, I can have a look if I need to. Absolutely, Peter, regarding your question. So when you schedule invite, they will get an invitation when the meeting is due to start. Yes. So they get a invitation to invite them. They don't then get another email to say it started. But if you have it open on the app, you will get alerted that the meeting has started. So you have it in your calendar also with it, which obviously is in our calendar here. So as you can see, this is my calendar with all the different things that I have, and I have meetings in here. I then can see what meetings I have as part of it. So, and I can easily join the meetings from there. So this is your chance to have a go at possibly creating a team and have a go at the different things that we have shared.
While you're doing that, if you want to type questions in, we'll try and pick them up. So, Henry, one question that's coming is, how do I set quiet hours?
Good question. I may have to turn my background off this. We shall see. So quiet hours can be set through your phone. Let's see if we can show. So I may try and find a video that I shared with staff. I'm just going to turn my background off, and you're going to see my shed in the background. Quiet hours. This is the app, and what I've done is gone to, it's called the burger menu. If you go to the burger menu, you will see, you probably can't see very well, there is a settings. And under the burger menu, you have notifications, and it says during quiet time. I will find the video and I will post it onto the chat so it gives you that option, because that's probably the best way. I'm sure I can find it somewhere while Tim is sharing the next part.
There's another good question about safeguarding issues using the app on your personal phone. Really good point. What we tend to do is staff will use their phone, the app on their phone, to access documents, to access chats. We don't tend to, though, do live lessons with the children on our phone. What we would tend to do is use a laptop or a desktop for that. Having said that, though, in December, we had our local authority LLP visit day. The LLP obviously was not here, had to be remote, but actually we still did a learning walk, and I basically had Teams on my phone and we were going around and she was talking to people, talking to the children, looking at the work. So it does allow that, but obviously we were making sure that was very much done within school. The other thing I would say, and I absolutely understand why people ask, quite right to ask questions about safeguarding, but just on the flip side, we've had literally in the last couple of weeks, we've had a couple of the children who are in our year 4, 5 and 6 classes who've contacted their teacher through a message through their class team. So it's secure, it's on the school system, the school platform, just sharing concerns that they've got about things that are happening in their lives or at home. I obviously won't go into details, but the bonus with that is that the staff have then been able to contact the children, have a discussion about it, and in both cases we then had discussions with the family and we were able to then help resolve it for the children. Now, without the technology, the children would have been at home and not been able to have that conversation with their member of staff. Henry, there's a question there about maximum storage allowance on Teams for files. Do you want to pick that one up for me?
Yeah, I was going to do a quick Google as to that. I can imagine it's very large. I can't, I don't know off the top of my head, but I will research that one. There was a question regarding the owner of the team to create the staff notebook. A key important point that we missed was the fact that when you create the staff team, the staff notebook is already created. And then every time you add a member, their section is added to the staff notebook. So it removes lots of obviously admin tasks throughout that.
Another good point. Thank you, John Adam, for answering Peter Howard's question. This is about scheduling links. So again, our experience has been both with our live lessons at the moment, but also when we did parents' evenings using Teams in October, we basically created one link and then we shared that. So for example, the year 3 class will be having their live lesson today, but it's the same link they used yesterday and the day before and the day before. So if the class aren't in a team, you can set it up that only the people presenting can start the meeting. So like this event today, we asked you to all wait in the lobby before we admitted you so we could check that everyone was in. Similarly with our parents' evenings, we just sent one link and we said to parents, please log in at this time. And if they tried to log in early, we just didn't let them in.
And a bonus with creating meetings at the moment. So if you create a meeting and then share the link, Microsoft has just released a meeting options that allows you to control the chat. So you can either turn the chat on, turn the chat off, or just enable it during the meeting session.
Mrs. Cormack has asked, it says that when my staff handbook is set up, it will be here, question mark. If that's the notebook, it will be within your staff notebook. So it will be in one of those sections. Hope that answers that one. Oh, Mr. P, a good one for you. Can you explain how to disable the chat? We've had that fun excitement this term, haven't we? With
yes,
some of our children.
Indeed. So if I just pull Teams back onto the screen again, and I make it so it's big. So under the calendar, you have an option. So in fact, if I go to today's event, so I can click on edit the event, and then it gives me a number of options. If I click on meeting options, this will open up a new browser, and this browser looks just like this one here. And it gives me a number of different options once I type in my password. And the options are here we go. So you can choose who can bypass the lobby. You can turn that off or on. You can announce when callers join or leave. You can choose who can present. You can choose who can unmute or whether attendees can unmute. And then the final key one, allow meeting chat. And they are the three options that you get as that. As soon as, if I was to click disable, then the meeting chat would not work. And if I was to click save, that would straight away. And it is instantaneous. I have, as part of my live lessons with my class, I turned off the chat instantaneously and straight away it worked and they couldn't access the chat at all. So a really powerful tool.
Thank you very much for all the questions coming in. Really great to see, and clearly lots of people are trying lots of things. But if it's all right, because of time, we're just going to give you a sort of a 1 minute heads up before we move on to the next section where we'll look at class Teams and OneNote. The bonus is, because it's still on Teams and OneNote, if there's still things you want to try, we'll have a time to try at the end of that. Question, Mr. P, if you record a meeting, where do you find it again?
Good question. So there is a couple of different options. The meeting currently today will appear in the meeting chat, but there is an option that you can upload it to OneDrive. This is a element that has just been released by Microsoft. So you have an option. I'm sure there is some instructions somewhere that I can find. I don't have them to hand at the moment, but there are a number of options. So if you didn't want it to appear in the meeting chat, you could save it so it wasn't in that option.
And finally, just a quick question. Mrs. Statton's asked, how can the children see each other in the meeting? So if they turn their cameras on, and unmute themselves, then that would work. Teams has gone through a lot of changes and iterations over the last 12 months. So originally it was a 3x3 grid that you could see, but they've now got, I think, are they up to the 7x7 yet, Henry, or is it still?
Yes, yep.
Yeah, so large gallery is 7x7. And what they've also done recently, which Henry and I used at the beginning, is a feature called Spotlight. So you can spotlight yourself, so you are appearing large on the screen if you want to be talking to your class, and then you can unspotlight yourself so they can all see each other. Again, thank you for all the questions coming in, but we are going to move on now, but we'll try and pick them all up as we go through. I think also worth just saying, and I should have said this at the beginning, please remember, if we are not able to answer any of your questions during the event today, you have got our Twitter handles. You've also got our email addresses, because I made sure Henry and I were both on those original emails you got sent. So if we don't get to one of your questions, please feel free to reach out to us either by email or Twitter afterwards or at any point in the future, and we will do our best to get back to you with some answers. But for now, what I'd like to do is just share with you a few details about class Teams. The bonus with this is the layout is essentially exactly the same as when you've got a staff team or PLC team. So what we've got here again in the WeSpace is the posts. So this is our Cornerstone class training team. And here you've got an announcement from someone who looks very much like the person next to my cursor, saying, welcome to the class training team, and just saying, here are the things that we're going to be going through today. So we're going to look at posts, meetings, files, class notebook, assignments, and grades. So again, an easy way of sharing. It's like your classroom board. And again, particularly at the moment with remote learning, really useful to announce that children saying, this is what we're doing tomorrow. Or Henry, for example, this morning has put a post on his Year 4 team saying, remember our call is at this time. These are the things you might want to do before we get to the call. Here's a couple of other examples of posts. So on the left, you've got an example where the year fours, so Mrs. Quick, who works with Henry in year 4 some days, she sent a post to the year 5 and the year 6 teams. So again, just to explain, we set up our year 4, our year 5 and our year 6 classes on Teams in September for this school year. We spent the first couple of weeks training them on it. We did a parents workshop mid-September, and we used it in the autumn term for the home learning so that the children would be used to using it, but we also used it in class. So what you've got here is a post where Mrs. Quick has said to year 5 and then also to year 6, hi there, year 4 are doing this survey. They're looking at teeth. We'd really appreciate it if you could fill it out. And as you can see, she's put a link in there with a form. We're going to come back to this example later when we look at forms, but she sent that to year 5 and 6. They were able to access it. They then answered, and then year 4 had some real data. Now, this was during the autumn term where we were in class bubbles. Year 4 couldn't go and ask year 5 and 6, so that was a barrier to their learning. But using the technology, we overcame it. Here's another example. This is in the year 6 class. And so the year 6 teacher has said half-term home learning. But you'll notice at the bottom it says, as you've worked so hard this half-term, there is no home learning task. Enjoy your week off. But she's just given them a reminder that it might be a good idea to keep going with the reading and a reminder about some spellings that they'll be doing. So posts in a class team, really useful way. And as Henry said, if you put @general, everyone will get an announcement and will be told that that is there to read. So that's posts. Files, again, not the most interesting, but in files, in the class team, you have a special file called class materials. This is a read-only one. And to be fair, most of what we put in our class teams is put in class materials. So the children can access it, but they can't edit it. And you can create subfolders within there. It's very easy to easily create new folders, new documents. You can upload folders or documents that you've got elsewhere. You can download from Teams. And a couple of people have mentioned about SharePoint. Again, anywhere in Teams, you can then look at opening in SharePoint. So, for example, there was an incident yesterday when a year 5 child had written something perhaps they shouldn't on a document, realised it and deleted it, but we needed to find that copy. So we were able to open it in SharePoint and go back through the version history and find what they'd written. So it will keep lots of versions of things as well, which is really useful. Here's a couple of examples of how we've used files. Both of these are from the year 6 class, both from the autumn term. So this is why we were still all in school. On the left, you can see where it's saved. It's in general, class materials, so they can't edit. And yes, it was that time when we were having to make sure we had self-isolation planning available. Should a child have to self-isolate, but the rest of the class being in there? And so what the teacher's done is put lots of different resources there, and we just kept adding to it. And this is the autumn one, and it's English. On the right, what you can see here is, again in year 6, again in class materials, one of the things that we learned to do during the first lockdown was to create recorded PowerPoints. So the teachers were doing their lessons for the week. They did one PowerPoint for the week with all of their inputs, recorded it on a PowerPoint, and then made it into a video file so that it could be played on any device, phones, laptops, mobiles, everything. But what we decided to do when we came back after the summer, because we knew that that was useful and the children were able to watch it easily, we've this year created on-demand learning videos. So the idea is, rather than a big, long whole input for the whole week, these are short, sort of 2-minute, maybe 3-minute videos that just remind the children of the key English and maths learning from the week. So it means that if they want to, they can go back and re-watch something if they're not sure of it. Again, they can watch it on any device. And again, during this period, when we've got classes not in and we're only partially open for the critical worker bubbles, actually we're saying to children, go back and re-watch this video before we do the learning this week. So really, really helpful. What we've then got is the class notebook. So very similar to the staff one in that you've got individual notebooks. So this is a private one. Yes, the individual student can see it, but the teacher and any other staff with the rights for that class can see it as well. You've got a content library, so the read-only space, and you've got the collaboration space. So again, a very similar setup, very similar format and look to the one we saw in the class, in the staff team. Here's a couple of examples from the class notebook, and these are fairly early on. Both of these are from back in September, when the children had only been using them for perhaps 2-3 weeks. So on the left, you've got an example from the Year 6 class, and they were doing a learning quest all about rivers, and the children were on laptops and were told, what we want you to do is compare the River Hamble, which is very local to us, to another river in the world. And the children were given choice. They were able to go and research, and then they were asked to produce it in a table in their OneNote. And so that's what this child has done. And you can see that actually they've used technology not only to do the research, but then to pull all the information together. The bonus again is, because it's on a notebook, if I as a teacher then said, right, for home learning, I want you to take that information and create something else with it, fine, because they can access it at home as well. So that was an individual notebook. The example on the right is an example from the collaboration space. And this is from Year 5. We were due to be going on a residential in September with Year 5. We had to change it and make it 2 activity days. And one of the things we did in preparation for it was, as part of the training the children how to use Teams, we said, right, we're going to have a session where you can ask questions, but you're not allowed to speak, because then there's only one person with their hand up and sharing their question. So the children were sat in pairs, they were discussing with each other, and they typed in questions. And what myself and Mrs. Phippen, the Year 5 teacher, were doing was sitting there trying to answer those questions. So we got more questions coming up. Now, just to be clear, there was no way we could answer them all in the session. And also to be clear, it looks quite neat and tidy there. That took a little bit of tidying up. It wasn't quite as smart and colour-coded when the children did it. But again, the bonus was they were able to get their questions, get an answer. If someone asked a question they wanted to know the answer to, they could see the answer. If when they got home, their parents said, oh, are you doing archery? Should you tie your hair up? No one asked me that, obviously. Then they could say to the parents, well, look, here's the question that was asked, and here's the answer. So again, really helpful that anytime, anywhere, on any device learning. The other thing that the children really like about working in OneNote is that there's an option, and I'm just trying to see if I can see it there on the screen. I can't, but there's an option to use a feature called Dictate. So there's a little microphone icon, so they can actually speak into it. As Henry said, I spend a lot of time now in my office speaking to myself. If I'm having to write a report or write an email, I'm often using Dictate to do that. The other fabulous thing in Notebook is something called Immersive Reader, which if you haven't heard of before, definitely worth a look. We have in Immersive Reader, you can highlight any text, it will read it to you. You can change the font color, you can change the font size, you can change the background color. I've got an example here. Again, I don't know if you'll be able to see it particularly well, but our Year 2-3 class, no, you can't. But our Year 2-3 class are doing a project on China at the moment. They were writing a letter, having learnt about a child in China yesterday, so they wrote it on Word Online, and then they used Immersive Reader and they translated it into Chinese with a click of a button, and then Immersive Reader read it back to them in Chinese, and the children were just amazed. That was their writing being spoken back to them in a different language. Really quite amazing. Anyway, I've gone slightly off the point there with my enthusiasm. Let's get back to Notebook. Yeah, because Mr. P is thinking he's got less time for his demo if the head doesn't speed up. 2 ways that you can distribute Notebook pages. You can either do it in the way I'm going to show you now, or you can do it through an assignment. So instructions are here. You would create a page either in the teacher-only notebook or the content library, so one that the children can't edit. And then you go to class notebook, but this one here next to the help, not the tab at the top. And when you click on here, it brings up a range of options, including distribute a page. And you can either distribute a whole page, you can do individually. Mr. P, any chance of going back a previous screen, please? Thank you. Individually or to a group. And if you decide that, oh, I've deleted it, but actually that's not where I wanted to send it, I can then delete the page. And when you then go on to the next screen, you can select where in the student notebook it goes. Oh, I've done it again. Is that me, Mr. P, or is that you? Thank you. So the other way of sharing it is by setting an assignment. And again, I'm sure Henry will show this to you in his demo, but very easy to do. You put in a title, you can give some instructions to the children, and where it says add resources there, that's where you can add a OneNote page, but you could also add a PowerPoint. You could add a video file if you want them to watch a video before doing it. So it will automatically go with the assignment. You can put points and say it's this many points. You can add a rubric. So that's sort of an American version of a success criteria. Again, the bonus with that is you could type out sort of an excellent, a very good, a good, and you need to look at this again. You can have a little paragraph for each. And then when you come to doing feedback, you just, for each child, you can say, actually, I want that paragraph, and it will copy that text into their feedback. So really useful. You can assign it to a particular team, or either all students or groups of students or individual students. So again, in terms of trying to differentiate at this time, we sometimes have slightly varied versions that we send out. You can set the due date, due time, and then you can post it in a channel. So again, going back to those posts at the very beginning, it will come up there, the children can click on the post, and it will take them straight to the assignment and straight to their notebook. Now, if you're working on one you don't want to send out at the moment, you can save it as a draft, and if you want to assign it, you just click assign. I'm sorry, Mr. Penfold, I'm really struggling here. Thank you. A couple of examples of assignments. And again, these are ones from the autumn term. So this is how we were using Teams and OneNote before we were back into the lockdown. So this is on the left, the year 6 example. You can see that the child has typed in some of the answers. The teacher's been able to put some green and pink highlights. But what you can also see is that the child's done some of the working out on paper, which is absolutely fine, and done a really quite impressive spelling poster on paper as well. And rather than saying, oh, but I can't share that, they've just uploaded it as a photo and just added it to the OneNote. You can see that the teacher's then able to put some written feedback at the side here and send that feedback back to them. The second example here, again, very similar. It's year 5. It's in their home learning notebook. You can see that we've got home learning for each week. And again, here you can see the child's typed in, the teacher's given the feedback. And what we found, both during the autumn term, but even more so now in remote learning, is because the children are getting that feedback, they're really keen to do the learning, they're keen to share it, they're able to act on it straight away. And actually what we're seeing this term is the standard of work and the learning that's going on, particularly in year 4, 5, 6, where they've got teams, it is really fantastic. It's not really dropping compared to when they're in school. Staff are asking me whether they could just carry on working from home, but I've said it's not really my decision. So final thing, I think, from me is also live lessons. The example that you can see on the left with these 2 people that you may recognise down at the bottom, this is an example of a live lesson from this term. So this is Henry teaching his year 4s, doing some stuff both visually and with sentences and numbers, looking at the 11 and 12 times table. So that was their daily live lesson. But the one on the right is quite an interesting one. So this is our year 6 class, and it's our year 6 teacher you can see on the screen. But this was actually the very first day of this term. You remember that day when primary schools were safe and we were all allowed to come back in? Well, the teacher was having to self-isolate at home, but she actually taught the class throughout the whole day via Teams. So the children were all in. There was another member of staff in the room supervising, but the teacher was actually teaching from home and worked incredibly successfully. Right, you'll be all very pleased to know now that I'm going to stop trying to take control and Henry's going to do his demo. Thank you, Henry.
No problem at all. And I'm going to answer a few of the questions that we had throughout that as well. I was desperately trying to type the replies, but my computer was having none of it. So just to share with you a question that we had regarding meeting recordings, I will find a link and I will share that with you as to where you can save it. Another thing, let's go straight to assignments because assignments for me is such a powerful tool and so easy to do. So we can easily create an assignment. We can see ones that have been returned. We can also see ones that we've got in progress. But if I want to create one, I can either create a quiz, which links to our forms, but also I can create one from that I have from an existing assignment, but I'm going to go for an assignment. And one of the questions we had was, can you add more than one file? You can add, I'm not sure how many files in total, but you can add more than one file. So you can add files, whether it's from your personal, your work OneDrive, whether it's a page from a class notebook. So when you have your class notebook, you have all of the different pages. The teacher only is a section that only teachers get to see. So for example, if I wanted that, I created a page in OneNote and I wanted all of the children to access that in their individual notebooks, I can then click on and find my distribution demo, the great worksheet that is the distribution demo, and it gives me the option to push it out to each a specific element of their notebook. So this is all the different sections that they have in their notebook, and you could almost see these as different exercise books. So I'm going to actually, this is our maths learning, so I'm going to click done. So once this assignment is assigned, it will go to their maths section in each of their notebooks, and I won't have to do anything. I may well want to, as well, on top of that, want to go and I want them to have a link to a website which I want them to use as a resource. So I'm going to use the great BBC website and see all of the exciting news that is happening. And I'm going to put it as BBC website. And then this is a resource that they can use on top of that. I could add a Word document. I could add an Excel, a PDF. Maybe it's a bit of part of a text. Maybe it's an example we have there. So lots and lots of powerful. We obviously have our rubric and our points. And then I can choose who I assign it to. So I could assign it just to one child. I could assign it to lots of children. I currently at the moment have a child that has an EHCP. So currently at the moment, I assign her a different assignment. So it means I can push out personalized assignments to her. You can change the due date, and also you can set when you have it assigned. So I know that currently at the moment, next week, all of my assignments are scheduled. I schedule them in the future, so then I don't have to worry about necessarily doing them on that day or the day before. So that's particularly, you can add more than one, and once I can add instructions. Sometimes, actually, particularly in the moment, I don't add instructions. I add them to the OneNote. So OneNote is just that page that you can write freely over, whether it's inking, whether it is typing, adding in pictures, adding in voice recordings, which I'm going to share with you soon. So maybe home learning, and we're going to go for today. I'm in a real rush. I've really got behind and I need to do this assignment and send this assignment out. And I'm going to make sure I assign it to, I'm just going to assign it to one particular student indeed, because I think they need more support on this, or maybe it's a task designed at them. So I'm going to assign it to them, and this teacher's going to really hate me because they're going to constantly get notifications on Teams. And as you can see, it appears here. So my assignment is appearing here, and you will see that the name pops up with the person. So we have here, did I type in? Oh, so it assigned it to all. It ignored what I said, and it assigned it to all. So we have it to the particular person that I wanted. Now, this changes. So as soon as the person has seen the assignment, it changes to viewed. And when the assignment is handed in, it changes to handed in. So I can see how they are getting on with their assignment. I can open it. I can give feedback in this box. I can also, a really powerful tool, give audio feedback. So if you see at the top under insert, there is a box called audio, and I can record my audio feedback there, which I know certainly for the year 5 and 6 teacher has been really useful since going into lockdown once again. I can also leave feedback in stickers. You're never too young to receive stickers, and even year 6 love stickers. Particularly one of my favorites is the pepper. So you can personalize it to the child and you can say, great work. I can see you really understood the multiplication. And then I can click done. It inserts it straight into the place that I wanted it to. And as you can see, my pepper will just appear in 1 second as it's just thinking about it. It will appear. It's just having a funny 5 minutes. So we have that, and I can add my feedback, and then I can click return. And as soon as the assignment is returned, the student will get a notification. Now, regarding a view, you can also see the opposite side. So this is what a student sees on the other side. So when they receive an assignment, they have, as you can see, the BBC website that I referred them to, and also their student work. They can instantly click on that and access their work. Now, we had one question regarding feedback and being able to act on feedback. So once they receive their assignment back, they will receive a message in the activity or the chat, and then it will give them the feedback that they received. But also they can then click on the OneNote, and then they can go back into their area and add and edit. So we have purple polishing at Cornerstone. So I've had lots of children then purple polish afterwards and do some great feedback and acting on their feedback as well. So we have all of the different areas. We have the collaboration space, a space where all of the students can collaborate, they can make edits. You can also lock the collaboration space if you wanted to. You have the content library. This is an area where it is that can be used for reference. So they can't actually edit any of the stuff in the content library, but they can view it all. So it may be that you refer them to have a look in at a document in the content library. And then we have the teacher only, which obviously only the teachers or the owners as part of that team can see. So currently at the moment, I have myself and the year 5 and 6 teacher as part of my class team, and they're able to see what's in the teacher only area and actually see the upcoming assignments. And I will share with you about how you can lock and unlock the collaboration space. So when you click on that, so for example, if I had that assignment and I had this distribution demo that I want to share with lots of all my children, gives me lots of different options. I can assign it to a group. I can assign it to individual. I can delete the page if I make a mistake, and it gives me all the pages that I can delete. I can distribute a new section. Lots of different things, but under manage notebooks, this will open a new window, which here we go. So if I open it, it gives me lots of options here. So I can choose to rename these notebooks. So for example, I don't actually, maths is overrated. I don't want to do maths anymore. Actually, I want to change it that this notebook is now PE. We're going to record all of our resources of PE in here. And you'll see in a minute when I go back to the class notebook that this would have changed to PE. So under here, we have the lock collaboration space. As soon as I click that, then they cannot edit the collaboration space at all. So we go back to class under my area and under the students area now, each student will have a PE section now. So now they have a class, an English, and that maths now has changed to PE. So some really powerful tools. The audio feedback picks up really well. All the children have to do when they receive the audio feedback on a OneNote is literally just click, press the file, and it will play back to them. Question regarding can children directly type onto a PDF you have shared? Yes, they certainly can. So if, for example, you had a PDF, so this is my page and this is my page of resources, and this is the page of the assignment that I want to share. I can insert file and I can insert file printout. What that does is that then produces images of that file below. And then they can edit over the top. And I will find an example of that during the time to try section of that with my children about how they have been doing that with their work, which is exactly a very similar method. And in fact,
you're trying to speak and read there, aren't you, Henry? Sorry,
I certainly can. So this is an example of an assignment. So this is my children's currently assignment at the moment, where they've been comparing area. And as you can see, these are images which I have set as a background. So when you have an option, you have the option within the OneNote for Windows 10 app to set as a background. This means that children can write over the top of it. It doesn't move around. So as you can see, I'm trying to click on it and it won't let me click on it. And it means that it stays in one place. This then enables that factor of being able to write over the top. If there are any more questions.
Yeah, sorry, Henry. Question from Mrs. Dixon, which I can't answer, but I'm sure you can. Can verbal feedback only provided on assignments created via OneNote? Could it be provided on a photo returned, for example? So we've got nursery pupils who send evidence of learning in via photograph often. Could you give verbal feedback with an audio on that?
That's a really good question. Through the feedback on OneNote, no, you cannot. Through the feedback, sorry, on Teams, through the app, you cannot. If they were to insert the picture into OneNote, then you would be able to. And the question regarding highlighter, if you see on, if I drag in OneNote onto the screen, you will see an element called Draw. You have lots of different pens, including ones that my children absolutely love, the glitter pen. I hate glitter, so it's never used. As you can see, it's not in my favorites. And I can literally click on the pen. I fortunately have a touchscreen laptop, so I'm able to use that. But I can either click on this and then I can use my mouse, and this child's going to think that she's done some really great work as I add lots of green to it. I can literally add it like that. If I wanted to then have a careful look at this question, I'm going to get a message from her in a minute, I can imagine. Have a careful look at this work. You can see there that it's a really visual, and maybe I want to drag it just to a particular area. Have a look at this work here. Hopefully that answers that question. Oh, I don't want to delete all her work. So have a go at maybe producing a class team, exploring that element. Any questions, please feel free to ask and we will do our best to answer them. Brian, I noticed that you had your hand up briefly. If you had a question, you can put your hand up and we can unmute you so you can ask that question. And to expand on Tim's answer regarding from Nick, obviously it gives lots of options. You don't necessarily, it can be the staff can set it up, or the head teacher or the person that could be the IT lead. We had it that we set them up, so then we knew, and then we added the staff in as owners.
Next question from Vicky. Do we need to set up MS email accounts for children to access Teams? If you want them to be in a class team, they will need a Microsoft account. So we set up all our year 4, 5, 6 with Microsoft accounts. But with our year R's to year 3s, they're still having daily lessons, live lessons through Teams. But because they're not using a Team and OneNote, they don't need that. They just get sent a link that they can access either through the app or online.
Scott, your question regarding the messing up of, unfortunately, Teams being set up. It is best to set it up as a class team to enable that access to all of the different elements. So each of the different teams, whether it's a PLC, whether it's an admin, or they have different settings. So for example, within the class notebook, you cannot allow, within a staff team, you cannot then distribute pages. So they just have little settings. So it's best to set it up as a class team because it has those options. Yes, H Bond, more than happy to share with you regarding calls. So if I go back to, and I share with you my calendar again. So as you can see, this is currently the meeting that you are all currently joining. So you have to add in someone else as part of the meeting. So obviously I added Tim because he needed to present with me, but it could be the head teacher, it could be maybe the learning support assistant. And when you do that and you create the event, once you go back into the event and click edit, it gives you this magical link called join, click here to join the meeting, which then all you have to do is copy the link and then you can share that link. And people can access it really easily. We've done that throughout our lockdown. So we've had one link for all of each individual class. So one link for each individual class, and that has enabled that access. It's been really easy because then they know that they've just got one link that they've got to access. Ruth, your question about muting. Yes, a very powerful tool. I like muting children, particularly sometimes if they post lots and lots. So if I show you back in the Cornerstone class training team, there is an option. So under the general, if we were to click the 3 dots in Microsoft Talk, if anything, you click on the 3 dots and it gives you the options. So we click on the 3 dots and we click Manage Team, which then gives us who is part of the team. So currently we have 3 owners, and then we have these people that are part of our students. Now, there's a powerful tool here called Mute. If I was to click on Mute here, this means that this member, or we ran into an issue. As with technology, sometimes we do run into issues, but if you click on it, it will highlight it, and then that person is not able to talk in a class call, and they are not able to reply on possibly a post that has been set. You can also, through managing the channel, you can set who is allowed to post on it. So whether you want anyone to post messages, whether you want it only that they can just react using emojis as well. And within admin, if you wanted it that students couldn't talk to each other as well, you can set that up through the admin center.
Okay, thank you again. Lovely to see all these questions coming in. We're just aware of time though. So what we'd like to do now is we're just going to take a quick 5-minute break. Please stay in the meeting. Please feel free to keep posting questions if you want. And as we said, we'll try and get to them. But can we also ask 2 favours we ask? The first one is the redeem code, which Henry's put back on the screen. So if you go into the Microsoft Educator Centre, towards the top right where it says sign in, you click there, and then your profile picture or circle with your initials will appear. And then you click on there and you can redeem the code. That is something that will help us out. But I've also posted in the chat a link to our feedback survey, because we're hoping to run future events and we would really appreciate getting your feedback on this particular event. Obviously, we're only halfway through, so don't feel you need to fill it out yet, unless you're leaving early because we're doing such a bad job. But do maybe open the link so that you've got it there ready for the end. We've both been to enough courses that we know that feeling when you walk out of a room and someone hands you the sheet. So we're just getting in there early. We'll be back in 5 minutes. Thank you very much, everyone. Just give you a 1 minute warning and then we will restart. Okay, so we're going to start second half now, because we're going to still attempt to finish by 12, but very, very much appreciate all these questions and all the engagement, really, really helping us to try and personalise this for you. So, excuse me, second half, we're going to be looking at forms, which is the icon here with the F, and sway. Both of these are really powerful, really effective, but also really easy to use apps within Office 365. We've used Sway for a couple of years for our school newsletters, but we've only really introduced forms into school in the last sort of 6-9 months. As with the first half, I'll do a quick presentation. Henry will then share a demo and go through what I've done and give practical examples of it, and then we'll give you some time to try as well. Thank you very much. So, presentation on forms. The value of forms are that you can create really quick surveys and tests. So we've used them for parent surveys, staff surveys. Our pupil leadership team use them for staff surveys as well. You can also create quizzes that are auto-marked. So one of the things that the teachers have been doing, particularly during this period, is creating those auto-marked ones. So you select the correct answers and forms will mark it for you. It will give the feedback to the children for you, and it will put it all into a spreadsheet for you. So it does a lot of the heavy lifting, the heavy work for you. What we've also done is use them for pre and post assessments, particularly over 2020 and this year. We're never perhaps quite sure how much children understand something and how much they can remember. So pre-assessments we found have been even more valuable during this academic year. And it's quite useful then after 2 or 3 weeks of doing a particular unit of learning, say, actually, we're going to redo that as a post-assessment and see how much progress you've made. So how to access forms? Nice and easy. You log into your Office 365, you go to the 3x3 array, and you'll see that forms is one of the options that comes up. If you're already in perhaps your email, again, you can just go to the top left-hand corner and click on that 3x3 app launcher. Forms and quizzes, essentially, they are made in the same way. The layout is the same when you're creating them, but with the quizzes, you're just putting in the correct answers. You can see a couple of examples here. So staff survey from autumn 2020. So that was one that we sent out to staff in December. But you can also see one that we sent out to parents. Year 3s wanted to watch the Rotten Romans, and rather than perhaps an old-fashioned way of giving them a piece of paper and getting the reply slips in, we set it up as a form, sent the parent the link, and we got the 32 responses, I think, in under an hour and a half. So just made it really quick and really easy. Here's another couple of examples. So the one on the left is actually from Year R, and this is from this term. So they've been looking at the book Oi Frog and enjoying all the rhymes within it. And so as part of one of their learning tasks at home during this remote learning time, they were sent a link of this form. It was personalised with a background of the same design as the book, and the children, obviously supported by an adult or an older sibling at home, had a go at clicking in. Again, because Forms is in the cloud, because it's online, it can be accessed on any device with an internet connection. The example on the right is at the other end of our school. So this is Year 6, as it says there, a decimals pre-assessment. And this was actually done in school, I think back in October. So the teacher asked the children to complete this. And again, you can have a quiz where the children get to know whether they've got it right or not. With a pre-assessment, we didn't do that because we wanted to know what they actually knew. We didn't want them changing the answer if they knew it was wrong. But you can also see, as the teacher's done there, you can add pictures and graphics within a form as well. So how do you create a form? Well, you've got 2 main tabs. You've got the questions where you're creating it and the responses where you look at how people have responded. It is quite straightforward. You pop your title in, you add any description or instructions, and then your 4 main types of question are: you can ask a multiple choice question where you can have them answering just one of the answers or multiple answers, which I know Henry and Speen head teacher are trying to sort out with our form. You can put a text box. You can have a rating. thumbs up or numbers. I think it's 1 to 5 or 1 to 7. And you could ask them to put in a particular date. If you click on the drop down arrow, there's some more features. So ranking, putting things in order. Like it is just a posh word for a table. Children can upload a file, or a net promoter score, which again we've used in our feedback form, where you've basically got a long rectangle and the numbers 0 to 10, and they select which one they want. Now, some of the forms and quizzes we do with the children are fairly short. Henry will be able to tell you that some of my surveys with the staff are not quite as short. And sometimes, if you've got a lot of questions, you want a lot of feedback, what you can do is break up your form into sections. So you try and give the appearance that it's not as long as it actually is. Still doesn't work with the staff. They know exactly what's coming. Here's an example of setting up a question in a quiz. So I've gone for a high level maths for myself here. I've put in the possible answers because it's multiple choice. And then I've clicked the one that is the correct answer. If I want to, I can also put in a little message and say, well done. We don't generally do that because actually the children just know they've got it correct. What's also great about forms, for this one, I'm saying if you get it right, you get a point, and it's fairly intuitive. So when I do my next question, it will assume that I also want that to be 1 point. So it will do that for me. I can either say you can only answer one question or give multiple answers. Clearly for this one, I don't want the children ticking everything in the hope that they will definitely get one thing right. So they're only allowed to answer once. And I'm saying it is required. They can't skip over this question. They do have to answer it. Once you've created all your questions, you can then look at previewing how it will look and choosing themes. Preview here on the left will show you, and you can look and see what it will look like on a computer or on a mobile device, because it will automatically change to fit different screen sizes. And when it comes to themes, you can either choose from a range of color backgrounds or a range of pictures and graphics that Microsoft provide, or you can click on the plus button and upload your own picture. When you've done that, you might want to go into the 3 dots here, as Henry mentioned, the magic 3 dots in Microsoft that give you lots of other options. These 3 dots, one of the things it will take you to are the settings. So in the settings, if it's a quiz, you can say, yes, I want the children to see their results automatically. So if they've got something wrong, they can have another go. I can decide that either anyone can respond to this form, or only people who are in our organisation, or specific people. Maybe I only want to share this quiz with a few children or this survey with a few staff. I can select a start date and an end date. Maybe it's a mental arithmetic quiz I'm doing in class. I want to shuffle the questions, making it harder for the children to go, oh, what did you put for number 7? I put this. Oh, your number 7 is different than mine, which can be helpful. And also a customised thank you message. So when you fill in our Primary Teams 365 survey, you'll get a lovely customised thank you message that we spent hours creating. It's reasonably short. It's not that exciting, but thank you for filling it in. When it comes to sharing, again, you can share it either so that anyone can respond, or particular people or anyone in your organisation, and it will give you a link which you can then copy. So you can then copy that and send it out by email. You can pop it on a website, wherever you want to put it. You can also, if you want, get a QR code, or you can embed it. So a really great example this week, our Year 6 class are creating a sway. So I'll probably talk about it again in about 20 minutes time. And they're creating a sway about their learning quest, which is about crime and punishment through the ages. It's not our behaviour policy. It's definitely part of the history curriculum. And what a group of them have done is they've created a quiz at the end. So they're going to share this sway with families, and then they're going to make their families do a quiz to see if they've actually really read it. Both Henry and I were sent this quiz as an example and to test it out. And I think neither of us got anywhere near 100%, did we, Henry? It was quite challenging. The other bonus with forms is if you're doing a quiz each week, you can actually then get a duplicate. So rather than starting from scratch, you can say, actually, I want to do this something very similar next week. I'm going to duplicate it and just change a few of the questions, and everything else will be the same. What you can also do is collaborate on one. So if you're perhaps working in a year team and a group of 3 or 4 of you are trying to work on something, you can work on it together. Oh, sorry, Mr. P, went too far again. Thank you. So just to share some examples, on the left here, you've got an example. So this is Henry's class, year 4, doing a learning quest on extreme Earth. And Joseph's had a go at creating a natural disaster quiz for his friends in the classroom. And what you've got on the right, you may remember I mentioned about a year 4 survey about teeth earlier. And we were talking about they sent a post to year 5 and 6. Well, this is the survey. And again, we've had other examples of this. So year 2, for example, have been looking at our electricity use across the school. So they sent a survey to all the classes in the school back in November because they couldn't go and talk to the children, but they were then able to use the responses as part of their science. Other thing then, when you get the responses, so I mentioned earlier, the questions tab is here, responses here. It will tell you how many responses, it will tell you how long it took people to complete it, and it will tell you whether it's still active or not. What's great is it will show you the results both in numbers, but also in very easy to see and to cut screenshot graphs and pie charts. But if you want to, you can also go in and view results from every individual. And what's really powerful is you can actually open it in an Excel document, which you can then edit. So you can lose the bits you don't want to, and you can do some extra analysis with the information that's there. I'm now going to hand back over to Henry, who's going to do a demonstration on forms. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Tim. So as you can see here, this is our Forms Home page. And just to show you really visually, you click the 9 dots and then click onto Forms to access it. Something that is really useful in Forms is the filter. As you can see, there is quite a lot of quizzes or forms that I have created, and I can search, which is a really useful tool, for a particular form or quiz that I have created, whether it's I want to duplicate it or see the answers to it. So we have all of the different forms and I can easily access them. As default, it creates a new quiz, or I can create a new form. We're going to create a new quiz today, and I'm going to go through what we can do with it. So it gives us an option that we can create a title. We can also enter a description if we wanted particularly. And also add an image. The image is really powerful because I'm sure, as lots of you are aware with copyright, when you search an image on here, so if I was to search a computer, it searches images that are under the Creative Commons license. So I'm sure you all know with copyright that if you use images that are not on the in the Creative Commons license or allowed, then schools can receive hefty fines. So straight away, it's showing me all of the images that I can access, that I can use. Maybe I fancy this one. I can click it and then add it into I can either double click it or click add. And as you can see, it will load into my quiz. And it's going to be the computer quiz. As me being digital lead, my geekiness of computers is coming out now. So I have all of the different options that I can create. Now, one thing really interestingly that we have done, no problems being a head teacher, I knew we'd get there in the end, is the fact that for children that don't necessarily have Office 365, so it could be year R, as you showed as we saw in the example. The first question I always suggest is, as a what is your name? So then, actually, as the teacher, they can look back and see through that, and we can add in a 0-point question with that, and we can straight away we can straight away have that, and it's not required as an answer, and I can see that in my responses. So then as soon as I add in options, I can go, what was the dog in Clifford the Big Red Dog called? And I can either have this magical option that Speen Teacher, head teacher, knows the multiple answers, and I can add that in. I can choose that, or I can go Clifford, I can go Bob, and then it gives me the option that I can tick the right answer. So as we can see here, I have ticked the right answer, and this will mean that when it is marked, that it will mark it as correct if they tick the answer. If they tick the answer as Bob, it will mark it as wrong, and I can then add in 1 point there. Every time now, when I add a question in, it will make it as a 1 point question. I can make it as a required question if I want to, particularly with that. Relating to F. Morris, your question regarding the difference between a form and a quiz is marked, and it will self-mark itself if you allow the options and you tick the correct answers. So we have there. Now, to show you an example, we had a question earlier regarding that sometimes you may have a quiz and you may have a response as to multiple answers. So this is an example of a factors pair quiz here. And here we have an array with a calculation, what is represented by this array. And we have the correct answer that I've typed in here. Now, with a quiz, because I've typed in this correct answer here, if they type in anything that is not this, it will mark it as wrong. Which obviously can be quite annoying, but you can go into, let me just show you how I did that. I can click into review answers and I can see all the children that answered. And I can go through each individual person, or I can go through the questions. So as you can see, this is question number 1 here. And as you can see, all of the different answers that they put. So for example, 1 times 18, it was actually a 0 here when actually I originally marked this. So I changed it to a 1. So every time that it will appear as a 1. You can see here that 2 people wrote 1 times 18, and we have 2 responses. If it was a 0, it would mark it as wrong, but it will automatically, if I change it to a 1, mark it all as those 2 responses were right. So a really quick way to answer with that. And something I know that the Year 6 teacher did, actually the graph that it produces, particularly if it's a standard answer, is really useful because then you get to see what answers people produce, and you can actually produce a mass element of a lesson regarding that. So forms is a really powerful tool with the younger years. When you share a quiz or you share a form, so if we go back into my computer quiz, I can click share and I can produce a QR code. A QR code, if you've never heard of before, if I have a mobile device or if I have a QR app, which is free, lots of QR code apps that are free, I can literally scan that against it and that will instantly bring up my quiz. Somebody that isn't part of the Microsoft 365 tenancy, so whether it's a year R, when they respond to their quiz, I can type in my answer here. I'm going to type my answer as Henry, and the Clifford, I think his name is Bob, and I included my question there. You will see that the response has been submitted, so straight away the teacher can see, and instantly I can receive feedback. So unfortunately, I got that question wrong. Obviously the dog in Clifford, the big red dog, is not called Bob, which is a classic name that children love. So a really powerful tool, and saves a lot on marking in particular. So this is your time to have a go, a time to try. Any questions, please feel free to ask. And yeah, have a go at creating a form or a quiz. Heidi, just to reply to your question. So regarding a picture, so you have the option on the side that you can insert a picture. You can insert a video if you want to. And then you have the option that you can image search under Creative Commons. You can upload from your computer, or you can upload it from your OneDrive. So there are lots of options in which you can upload them.
Jane Maynard's asked about archiving and organising previous forms and quizzes. One of the things that Microsoft regularly gets asked in their user voice is to have folders. So if you remember when Henry showed his screen with all the quizzes there and forms there, at the moment they haven't organised folders in there, which I think will be really useful. I'm sure it will come. But probably the best advice we can give with that is if you colour code them. So if you said, right, all my maths ones are going to have a blue background, all my reading comprehension can have a green background, all the staff surveys can have a yellow, and so on and so forth, it's then very easy to organise and group them. And as Henry said, you can also use the filter. So I hope that answers that question. Henry, there's just a follow-up question from Heidi about adding the images. So I think it was Tamara's White Rose maths questions on that year 6 form. So is it the same way that she put images on the form in the actual questions?
Yeah, so if you screenshot the image and then save it, and then you can upload it via the form. Good question. Assigning a quiz to more than one class. You could either post it on the Canvas, and you could have it as an announcement. And then post it on each particular team. I would say that that's probably the best method to share it. Having the link and then sharing that on each of the class teams. Or you could have it if it was in school and social distancing wasn't necessarily applicable so much. You could have it as a QR code in each of the different classes, and they could scan it on an iPad. So 2 possible options in which you could access the form.
Yeah, and just to add to that, Henry, I think so. If you, let's say you're in a 3-form entry and you want them all to do the same quiz, but you want the results to be in 3 separate classes, what you can do is duplicate the form or the quiz, give them all the class name, so they're doing the same one, but you've got 3 duplicated copies. And then they would have either the link or the QR code for their classes one. That way that you could see your classes data separate from the other 2 classes. We'll give you a couple more minutes just to have a quick go with the forms and the quizzes that you're looking at so that you can play around with those ideas that we've shared. And then we're going to move on to our final app, which is Sway. So we'll do that in a couple of minutes.
And I have to echo Heidi's point of time saver. It certainly is. So I know that my children are all doing a times table test today, 60 questions. If I was doing it in school, they would mark it themselves. But through forms through a quiz, it marks it for itself, and straight away I can see visual feedback. Actually, the first week that I did it, a child of mine did a full stop after every answer. And in my answers, I hadn't done a full stop, So she got 0 out of 60 and was rather worried. And I said, don't worry, it's just because you didn't answer exactly how I put it. And since then, actually, they clearly know how to answer it.
Ruth, you've just asked a question about having a link for an assembly. Yes, so if you share it with staff via email, they can copy it into a post on their class. To be honest, what we've done is for all of our live lessons and our collective worships for this term, we've just saved all of those links in a OneNote page within Teams so that everybody can get to it and access at any point. And yes, we've just emailed it out to all the families. But if staff can't find the link at any point, they can go either into the calendar in Teams or to that page in the OneNote notebook and find the link there. Okay, as I said, and apologies for this, aware of time. So we're just going to now move on to looking at Sway, which again is a really fantastic tool, easy to use and really powerful. So basically it's like basically a web page, and what it does is produce something that looks really smart, really professional, but doesn't take too much work. So I particularly like this one. This is an introduction to it that we've shared with other schools, and this is actually a Sway itself. So we're using Sway to introduce Sway. Basically, it's a digital storytelling app. That doesn't mean it's just for narratives in English. You can perhaps use it for looking at processes in science or timelines in history, but it's a way of sharing information and scrolling through it. Again, like Forms, it's free and online within Office 365. What's brilliant about Sways is you can add text, pictures, videos, links, all sorts of things within it. So we've been using it for our school newsletters for probably about 3-4 years now. And it's fabulous. You have a link, you send it to parents, and they can access it on any device. The other bonus is that you can do it either individually or you can collaborate on it. And the bonus of that, I said about 20 minutes ago, that Year 6 are doing something exciting this week. So all the Year 6 children, I think apart from 2, are at home, but they're actually working together as a class team to put together a Sway all about crime and punishment. So they're all adding to it. It might be when Henry gets to do the demo, he shares that with you. So I'm going to skip over this next bit because I think by now, hopefully, you know who Henry and I are. I'm also going to skip this bit. On our YouTube channel, which if you haven't seen it in the notes, the recording of this event will be posted and uploaded into our YouTube channel over the coming days. But also in there, we've got a load of short mini CPD videos, one of which is on Sway. But I'm not going to play that now. Getting started, I think you're probably getting bored with this. You sign into Office 365 and then you find the app, and you can do that by clicking on the 3x3 array, and there's Sway. It's the one with a green background and a green S there. Once you go into the Sway app, you'll have a screen that looks like this. You can either create a new Sway, or, and this is where it's really powerful, you could start from a topic. So let's take the Year 6 example of crime and punishment. They could click start from a topic, they could type in crime and punishment, and it would pull out lots of useful text and videos and pictures using Wikipedia and create a draft Sway for you, which you can then go in and edit. But you may find that 75% of it has been done for you. So from a teaching point of view, if you're, I don't know, you're going to do ancient Egyptians next term and you've never done it before, that's one way that you could look at doing this and say, great, I've got this Sway now and I'm going to use that to present this to my class. Or you could start from a document. So again, a recent example, our Senko, literally yesterday, she's got to do her annual report to parents. Normally she does it as a Word document. It's normally about 15-20 pages long, and we wonder how many of the parents actually read it. So what she decided to do yesterday was she took her Word document, she changed the things around she needed to, and then she opened up Sway and clicked start from a document, and she uploaded her Word document, and it was just changed into automatically a Sway. So it became more interactive. It can be read online. So again, a really quick, easy way of turning a document into something different. So those are your 3 options. If you go for create new, you can either start from an absolutely blank Sway and say, no, I want to have complete control over it and how we're going to do it. Or you can start with one of these examples and sort of already preset sways from Microsoft. So you can use that and it will have done some of the sorting out and formatting for you. So within a sway, there's two main tabs, a bit like when we were looking at forms. And in sway, there's the storyline tab and there's the design tab. Storyline is where you are basically putting in your different boxes, your different cards, and organizing your information. And then the design is when you're looking at how it looks to your audience. So at the moment, we're in storyline. Again, fairly self-intuitive. It says title card. So you give your sway a title. Every time you want to add a new box, you click the add sign and it will keep adding new boxes, new cards underneath. There are a range of types of boxes you can add. There will be a suggested one, which is the sort of 4 or 5 that are most commonly used. But if you want to explore more, there's text boxes. You've got heading and heading 2, which is like a subheading, or text. If I just click on here, we'll look at the next picture here. So that's an image that I've uploaded, or I could upload a video, or I could upload an audio file. But if I wanted to, I could embed those types of files in it so they play directly within the sway, rather than someone having to come out of the sway to view the video or hear the audio. I can also upload a range of other documents. Now you'll notice that I am clicking here, and that's because what I've done with these 3 pictures is put them in as a group, as a stack, which is what I'm pointing out now, which just makes it a little bit more interesting, a bit more interactive for the person who's watching it. With pictures, you can either have them put in automatically, in a grid. Comparison can be really useful. So for example, let's say you're looking at a history project, Henry VIII, and you're looking at 2 portraits of him done by 2 very different artists who've got different opinions of Henry. You could put the 2 pictures next to each other and the children can easily do that direct comparison. I've already mentioned stack, and slideshow means the photos are just there as they would be perhaps in a PowerPoint when you're clicking through. If perhaps you're looking at these and going, well, that's fine, Tim, but they're rather small, I can't see them. This little icon down here, if I click on it, makes that picture full screen. And if I want to come out of that, I just click the cross to go back. So I'm going to keep scrolling down my sway, so I have control over where I get to next. If I want to then add some media files, it will give me a range of choices where I can get them from. So I can search them online by typing in a keyword or key phrase here, or I could upload from my OneDrive or from Flickr, from Bing, Pickit. I can go to YouTube and find videos from there, or I can upload pictures or text or documents or videos that are actually stored on my device. So a whole range of sources that I can get media files from. Next, I'm at the stage now where I've completed my sway and I want to look at the design. I want to look at how it is going to be seen by my audience. And I can change the direction. So at the moment, you'll see the sway I'm sharing with you is what's called vertical because I'm scrolling down it. However, I could scroll across, or I could have it going as slides as a PowerPoint. I can change the font, I could change the color, and I could change the background. And I do all of that, and I'm going to click on this one, by going into looking at play and looking at styles. So here's my option. You can see I've clicked vertical. I could go horizontal or slides. Here I can customize. So I can choose the exact color I want. I might pick a color from one of the pictures I've used and said, I want to use that exact same color. I can also look at changing the textures so it doesn't just look like a blank white sheet. If, however, I think, oh, I don't want to get into all of that, what I want to do is just go for looking at some different designs. Again, there's some preset designs here. And if you decide, oh, I'm not sure I like this one, you can click remix and it will automatically suggest an alternative for you. If you go, no, actually, I prefer the previous one, you can undo and go back to it. So lots of choices there in how your sway looks. When you then think you're ready, you can say, yeah, I want to play this and I want to share it. When it comes to sharing, a bit like we were just looking at forms, if you want to, you can share with specific people or groups, or only people in your organization, or anyone with the link. And you can invite people to either just view it or allow them to edit it. So again, there's a chance to work collaboratively here. You can get a code, you can get a visual link, or you can get an embed code to embed it into another document. Here are some examples to share with you. What I'm going to do actually is make them larger because then it's a bit easier to see. So this is, again, this is Henry's class. This is year 4, and they were doing a learning quest all about the Anglo-Saxons. And so in one afternoon, Henry got them into groups of 2s and 3s and said, here's your subtitle. I want you to find some information on the internet and find a picture to go with it. If you want to add some quiz questions, you can. And so as a class, they literally spent about an hour one afternoon doing this, but then they created this, which then they were able to share with their parents. Here's an example of our newsletters. So this is the one from September when we were all coming back. And so strangely enough, we had a welcome back, but would you believe it? We also had some important information about COVID, but we were able to add links. So we could add links to our website, to the DFE website, to our reopening letter, reminding parents where information was. We were able to put in pictures, being really clear about when and where drop-offs were. We were able to add in a video. So we did a social story for the children, and we'd shared it previously, but we popped it in there as well. As you can see, we can add in headings, we can add in text, pictures. And again, what's good with this is you can scroll down. Here we wanted to remind the children about growth mindset, but we thought let's put it in as a stack so they can look through and see all of those posters one by one. We've also got here, I won't go through these in details because it's similar. We do our e-safety newsletters using Sway. And also we've got here an example of a Sway where we were trying to become a Microsoft Showcase Incubator School, which we managed to achieve with this application. So I'm now going to almost actually, sorry, Henry, just before I come out of here, just 2 things to show you before Henry does his demo. In case you haven't been onto the feedback form, this is what it looks like. It's really short. As we said, we really, really appreciate it if you can find the time to do that. And also, just to give you a sneak preview, this is your takeaway wakelet. So this is something which has a load of links to Teams and to OneNote, to Forms, to Sway, and also some bonuses at the bottom, a sort of suggestion from us about how you might develop using tech in your school, a link to the Microsoft Educator Centre, and a couple of other useful links to Microsoft. So we'll be popping it in the chat, but we'll also be sending it to you as well. Hopefully you can now take back control, Henry. You're muted, Mr. P.
Absolutely, yeah. I was just desperately trying to click on mute, but it wouldn't let me unmute. The joys of technology. So we have here our Sway launch page. And as you can see, here are my recent Sways that I have done. And I can click on all my Sways if I want to access them. We've got some examples of some. Question about ready-made. We do have some templates for Sways, but there are not a huge number. Definitely for forms and quizzes, there isn't. I know that Microsoft are very keen in listening to customer feedback. So by asking that, that may be an element that they may well involve, but there's no particular library out there. But through the sharing with forms and quizzes, you can easily access and make it your own through the duplicate function. So if I click new blank Sway, it will pull me up a page. And I then have the option to then create as part of it. So once again, we have that I can insert images. I can make text bold. I can make it italics. I can include links in as well. And really, really creatively is that actually I would possibly put Tim in this category as well, that we're not necessarily the most creative people and the most arty people. So actually Sway makes it really arty without actually having to do anything. Question that regarding regarding design and changing your font, you can. There are limited options but you can change it. So I went to design, and then you had styles. If you're feeling maybe a bit risky, or maybe possibly feeling like, oh, I fancy a surprise, you can click remix, and it chooses the one that is most it thinks is most suitable. But if we go under customize under it, then you have an option to change the colors, and you also have font choices that are also there, but they are particularly, you cannot have Arial, Nova, and then Benton. You have to choose the options that are there that they think are ones that fit the best. So we can obviously remix it there. So going back to our storyline, it's a board through, and it clearly shows the path of our presentation. And really importantly, it was really easy for even my year 4s to access this. And the Sway that Tim was talking about with year 6, they have been doing it at home. Sway has a limit that you can only have 10 people editing at once. But fortunately for the year 6, they never had more than, they never had that many people at once. So we can create a title, and I'm going to do my link to my Clifford the Big Red Dog. I'm going to do all about dogs. So I'm going to add another title. I'm going to add another heading. So I'm going to make a heading which is Clifford's, with apostrophe, favourite, if I could type, favourite food. And then I'm going to include a text box, and I'm going to write all about Clifford's favourite food. So I know that Clifford likes dog food. I'm hoping he does. We have a grey box around that shows that this is one section. Now, if I was to create another heading and create another section, I can then create it that the food he likes. I've already done the food. Let's go something else. Maybe his hobbies. Now, unfortunately, as you can see, because I accidentally clicked it, I clicked the plus arrow here, my food has now vanished down to my hobbies. I don't want to talk about food in the hobbies. A great way in which you can do is just click on it and click and drag up, and I can now move the card into the place that I wanted it to. If I wanted then the hobbies, he loves chasing a tennis ball. There we go. There are his hobbies. Now, a fantastic thing that Arsenko actually shared with us and constantly used when she created a Sway recently was the factor of the play button. So you can click play and you constantly see what your Sway looks like. So we have here that there I've got my heading, Clifford's Big Red Food. Like, actually, let's have a look back at this. And actually, I want that when he's chasing a tennis ball, I want this as bigger text. So as you can see here, we have got two options. So I want this as bigger, and also I want it as a bullet point because I'm going to include a list of things. So I'm going to now click play and see the option. So it's created it as a list now, and it's made it bigger. So we have there something really important that we can keep constantly checking back and forth in between and seeing what whether it suits the need we have. Great with the images also. So I'm going to find a picture of a dog and add it into there. And I love this cute picture of a dog there. So there we have my picture of my dog. In fact, it's a video. I don't want a video. I'm going to get rid of that video. I don't want that video. Let's go for an image. So we have an image here. And as you can see, we've got the same options again. We have, if we want a small image, maybe we want it as a really large image. We want people to take note of it. Maybe we want it just as a small. If I was to then drag in dog with glasses, you will see now that these images, as they are smaller, they will appear next to each other. A really nice way of presenting it. If I was to change one as a larger image, now you will see that we have, whoa, that big dog there, and we have the smaller picture there. Now, I can add a caption, so a dog chilling out, and this will appear over the top of the image. And there we have. So we can really easily build up a really clear designing. And one thing that's really great is that it will format it for each mobile device. So you don't have to worry about what it looks like on a mobile, what it looks like on an iPad, what it looks like on a on a laptop, because it will format it to that particular element, which is really great, because obviously if parents are receiving emails through parent email on their phone, maybe they can quickly open the Sway and access it. So we have there on our Sway a great, really useful tool as well, is you can see how many people have seen your Sway. So for example, my Cornerstone e-safety newsletter, we've had 127 people have seen it. Whereas the newsletter in January, because Tim's more popular across the whole of the school, he's got 302 people that have seen it. So we have that really clear visual, and you can see how much that you are getting out of it. And you can certainly work collaboratively on a Sway. So if I go and create a new Sway again, and this was exactly how the Year 4 teacher did it. So we have Pacific groups, we have anyone in the organization, we also have anyone with the link. Now, to access a Sway, to edit, you need an Office 365 account. You can't just edit a Sway with it, or a Microsoft account, one of the two. But we click on the edit, this will give me a link, and as soon as I share that link with them, they can access and they can edit it. So they can create that. Now, I was going to share with you the Year 6 example that they had created, but unfortunately, it won't allow me in it. Maybe the Year 6 teacher blocked me from sharing it today. But instead, I've got an example one from my Year 4 children. We've been learning about natural disasters, a well-known area of the curriculum. And this is one that they did this week. So they have created this from scratch. And I think, for me, it's a really effective and visual way, and I can clearly see that understanding about how much they understand about all the different elements, and it's a really creative way. And I introduced my children as to it collaborating over the Anglo-Saxon one, but they hadn't done one individually, and it shows the impact and shows how easy it is that they have created that. And I will share that with my children when I'm on my call today, the fact that I shared one of their Sways. So really great tool, really easy to use. The factor of being able to control, move where the cards go is a great thing. So this is your chance to try, have a see, try and have a go at creating a Sway. That's a good question, Ruth. Using a Sway instead of a PowerPoint. It depends what functionality you wanted out of it. If you wanted to be able to write on the PowerPoint, and you wanted it as possibly as a live document that you could edit onto, I would use a PowerPoint. Whereas if you wanted it as a static document, that you just wanted it, that there were videos, there were pictures, and you just wanted to talk through it, then I would use a Sway. John, I think we have got an introduction to Sway, if I'm correctly saying, and I can see Tim nodding his head.
Yes, we have.
Which we actually share with the children, and they get to hear our dulcet tones again. So yes, there is.
Could I just at that point though do for John and anyone else, if you are looking on YouTube for someone's channel to follow, anything involved Microsoft, there's a guy called Mike Tofflerson. We'll find the link and we'll pop it in the chat. He's an absolute guru, works in America, works for Microsoft, and he does these short mini videos which are absolutely brilliant. Every time there's an update, there's a Mike Tofflerson video to go, this is how you use it. Really, really helpful. Question there about a video of this training. Yes, we are recording today's event and yesterday's event. We will be uploading them onto our YouTube channel over the coming days. And if you'd like to see our takeaway, Henry has just popped it into the chat. We'll try and get you our YouTube channel as well.
I think you just beat me there, Tim. I just copied it, but I can see you're typing, so I'm not going to paste it in.
Do you want to find Mike's one and pop it in, though?
I certainly can, yes. Actually, Mike has just started producing a TikTok channel. You don't have to be a member of TikTok to watch the videos, which is great. And he's done quick snippet, almost less than a minute videos about top tips that you can use across the whole Microsoft Office range. And they're really great because they literally take seconds to watch. Good question, F. Morris. You do not need a Microsoft account to view a Sway. So when we share the link with parents, they don't have to log into any account. They can just see it. They only need a Microsoft account or to edit a Sway. But obviously, we don't want parents editing our newsletter. That key point for me with Sway is that you can see it across a number of devices and you don't have to worry about how it's set out on those devices because it will automatically format it for those devices.
If it's okay with everyone, we'll just give you another couple of minutes to have a little play with Sway. If you've got to the point where you think you're finished, then Henry has just re-put the takeaway for you, the resource that we're giving you as takeaway, and also the feedback form, those links back in the chat. So again, maybe worth opening those so that you've got them open and ready to save. Just give you a couple of minutes and then we will wrap up. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. I can share with you how to access Immersive Reader. So if we share, if I share with you a screen here for my OneNote. So this can be accessed through OneNote Online, It can be also accessed through the OneNote for Windows 10 app, and it's the same process for each. You go to View, and you click on Immersive Reader, and that will take me to another screen, which you will see that this will then interpret this and lift off all of the text. So as we have there, it has lifted off all of the text, and I can read it back. I can change the color. There is a huge amount that we can do in Immersive Reader that unfortunately we can't touch on, but we could certainly touch on at another point. Really importantly, just this icon here, anything that you see that has the speech and the couple of lines that are curved coming out of it, that means you can use Immersive Reader with it. So if I just try and find our form, for you, if I show the preview, when I show you the preview of this form, we have here the same icon, which shows we can use Immersive Reader, and exactly the same thing. It will show me it just like that, and I can play it back. I haven't got my sound turned on to share with all of you, but it would literally play it back for you.
Question there about Windows 10 to use Immersive Reader, Henry. I don't think that is the case, is it?
No, you don't need Windows 10. All you need is just either OneNote for Windows 10, or just an internet browser. And also it has come into Edge. So some of you may use Microsoft Edge, and Microsoft Edge has got Immersive Reader built in. So if you're on a page, you can highlight a certain part of text and then click Immersive Reader, and it will read it to you. And if I share with you, so this is a page here. We have create and manage rubrics. If I highlight this, I can then read it back to me, read aloud the section, or open in Immersive Reader. Two really powerful tools there.
Yes, John, Immersive Reader has recently come into PowerPoint. Just answering that question.
Just for the online version at the moment, I think.
Okay, I think if it's okay with everyone, we're just going to draw it to a close there because we're getting close to 12. And we know that hopefully it has been a useful morning for you. We hope that we've shared some useful tips with you. Again, I think a key thing I would say is we've only been on this journey sort of 12 months. So we're still learning, we're still developing. But what we've seen is having a real impact with the children and with the staff. So wanted to just finish by saying thank you very much for coming this morning. Thank you for all the lovely thank yous you're putting in the chat. That's very much appreciated. And thank you for staying with us all morning. Please remember you do have our email addresses. You do have our Twitter handles there on the screen. So if you've got any other questions or you want to share with us exciting ways you're using things that we're not, please do reach out. Please do get in contact. Again, final shout out to the feedback form. We would find that really useful because there are questions there about would you like to come to any future events? If they were, what would you be interested in being on there? And apart from that, unless there's anything else you can think of to say, Henry?
No, thank you very much indeed. There's just a couple of questions that I've seen, glanced over. So Immersive Reader, you can translate. Absolutely indeed. You can translate to different languages. Quite a number. I'm not going to try and recite them off because there are quite a number of them. Regarding setting an assignment, how do you put it into OneNote? Okay, so if I just do a quick demonstration of that, and I share with you as my OneNote starts to go really slowly. So when you have and if I load up the Cornerstone class training team. So we have our class OneNote here. And as I shared before, it's probably best to do assignments in the teacher only section, which means then the children can't see it or the students can't see it, and then it means that obviously they don't get any chance to it. So here's an example. We have a distribution demo example one, and I can either set it as assignment two ways. I can go to the class notebook at the top here, and then I can distribute page to all of the children, and that would push into each of their separate OneNotes. Or if I set it as an assignment, then I can set that page as their assignment and it goes out to their individual notebooks as well. By setting it as an assignment, they get alerted to it, and then I can keep track of who has handed it in. So for example, to give you an example of that, at the moment, I know that the Maths and English we are setting as an assignment in 4, 5, and 6, whereas we're also setting some learning quests, which is usually our history or geography or guided reading as well. We have set that as just distributing a page and not an assignment, because otherwise that would be a number of different assignments that would be set and possibly too many to cope with. So hopefully that answers your question, Kerry. We will be probably around for the next couple of minutes, would you say, Tim?
Yeah.
If there's any further questions, if not, then we will close the meeting.